What's up guys, I'm BTC, welcome back to the Respawn where I answer your questions. Today we're talking about an ultimate that makes your whole team invisible, a tank with lifesteal, and more. Today's video is sponsored by Moot, a free gaming community platform where you can find and share the latest info, highlights, guides, and memes on Overwatch and a ton of other games. Follow as many or as few of these games as you want by pinning them to your page. They also just recently introduced a new looking for group system that makes finding teammates incredibly fast and easy. All you have to do is click on the Create Post button, select the Looking for Group board, fill out the info about what platform, game mode, and some extra details about what exactly you're looking for, and post it. This is great for games that don't have a built-in Looking for Group system, but it's still great for Overwatch as well. Think about it. If you're trying to find specific types of teammates to play competitive with, and you use the in-game Looking for Group function, you're only going to find the people that are looking at the exact same time that you're in that system. But with Moot, you can make a post on their Looking for Group system that will stay there, allowing other players to find you and then contact you at any time. So you can help support the channel and get a free helpful app at the same time. Check the links down below and make your free Moot account today. Now, I've been thinking, as far as the Respawn goes, I wanted to kind of change it up a little bit, and I do have an idea, and I want to run it by you guys. I'll tell you all about it at the end of the video. So for now, let's get into your questions. First up, how would you change seasonal events to make them more interesting, but without taking too many resources? That's a good question, and a lot of people have been getting a little bit tired with the recycled events, but also have to keep in mind that the more time they spend on these events, the less time they can spend on other bigger projects that they're trying to add to the game. So it makes sense that they would have to do things that have what I used to call as a maximum impact, minimal effort sort of thing. Now, one of the things with Halloween Terror that people have been asking about and wanting is an all heroes mode. Now, obviously it's not going to be balanced, right? You have a character like Bastion in there. It's just not going to be a balanced game mode. It doesn't matter though. It's just supposed to be fun. You don't need to have achievements or any of that other stuff tied to it. Just have an all heroes mode for Junkenstein. That could have been something new that they added that probably would have taken almost no effort at all. Now, another thing would have been like Lucio Ball with all heroes. There was actually a funny bug when they first released it in the first year where you could play as other characters. Other event game modes like Maze Snowball Fight or the Yeti Hunt, they could just add one or two new characters. It doesn't need to be a complete redesign of the event, just add a little bit more stuff, and I think that would go over pretty well. I mean, yeah, it's still gonna be the same event, but at least it'll have some new elements to it. Next up, what would you like to see in a PvE version of Overwatch? Basically, what we're seeing with the Overwatch 2, which will probably be an expansion. What I would really like to see, I want to play as the bad guys. I want to play as Talon. Have Doomfist, Reaper, Sombra, Moira, have them as the characters, play through their storyline. See, the thing is, with the previous Archive events, we've always had to go against the Omnics like Null Sector, or we go against Talon or something like that, right? I want to play as Talon. I want to play as the bad guys. That's what I would like to see. Next up, do you think Tracer should have more vertical mobility like a vertical blink? No, I don't think so. Tracer is already a very powerful character. Yeah, she wasn't getting used a lot with the Goats comp and Double Barrier, but in other comps, whether it's a standard, Reinhardt Zarya kind of thing, or dive, she is incredibly powerful. On top of that, Tracer also has one of the highest skill ceilings of any character in the game, meaning that the very good players can just be absolutely devastating with that character. Giving her a vertical mobility would be way too strong. Now, I have seen something suggested before where you blink to where she's looking, which is the same kind of thing that you have with Genji when he's using his dash, right? So you could kind of look straight up and blink, and that's where you would go, or look at an angle and blink and you would go up on top of high ground or something. I think that's just way too strong for Tracer. She doesn't need that. It would just make the character just far too powerful. Next up, should colorblind mode change the color of objects like May's wall and ice block and stuff like Zarya's bubble and Sigma's ultimate? Sure, I don't see why not. I mean, Blizzard is always trying to improve the colorblind mode, and they also added subtitles and stuff recently. I don't see why not. I mean, I don't personally use that mode. I know a lot of people do because it kind of makes things stick out a little bit more, or because they actually are colorblind, but I don't really use it. But I don't see a problem with them adding more features to it, and I'm sure that Blizzard actually will end up adding more stuff as time goes on. Next up, do you think turret abilities are good for Overwatch, or would you replace them if you could? I would replace them. I think it's kind of neat that Torbjorn has that turret that reminds me a whole lot of the engineer from Team Fortress 2, and, you know, Symmetra can get some stuff out of her sentries as well, but ultimately, I think they're bad for game balance because they tend to be way too strong in the lower bracket and not nearly good enough in the upper bracket, right? I've talked about this many times when I talk about the concerns about Torbjorn, right? In the lower bracket, the turret can be a big problem, particularly when it's being kind of defended by a barrier and some other stuff. But in the upper bracket and at the pro scene specifically, turrets are more of a nuisance than anything else, right? So they're very, very difficult to balance. Anything in the game that has that kind of auto-aim, auto-attack feature is going to be problematic when you're trying to balance it for both the lower and the upper end of the game, right? So I would just replace them with something else. Next up, what are your thoughts on Project A? I actually just talked about this in a video yesterday. I think it looks pretty decent, right? It's still very, very early, obviously, but it looks like it's a nice blend of CSGO and Overwatch, and it seems to take the best elements from both. They're also doing a lot of work trying to get rid of Peeker's advantage, and that's a really, really good thing. It's more of an issue in something like CSGO than it is in Overwatch, but I think it looks pretty decent. It's probably going to be a while before it comes out, though, because it does look like it's in kind of an early alpha state, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it looked pretty decent. I'm looking forward to seeing how it actually plays out. Next up, do you think they could make a PvP competitive game mode with the Left 4 Dead game style? How would that work? I think it would work exactly as you just said, like Left 4 Dead. That game was awesome. I spent so many hours playing that, and the sequel too. They're both great. I would really like to see a third one. Anyways, so how it could work is you would just have 4 players who are co-op through the archive-style missions, right? So let's say Uprising. You have your Tracer, your Mercy, Torbjorn, and Reinhardt. So those are 4 players. And then on the other team, you have 4 other players who are going to randomly control different Omnics throughout the match. They get thrown in as an extra Bastion or an extra Enforcer or whatever it happens to be, right? And they just get spawned in and they try to stop the players from completing the entire mission. And then once they either finish the mission or they get completely taken out, then the teams switch sides, and then the team that was playing as Tracer and Reinhardt and stuff, they get to become the Omnics, and then the other team gets to become Tracer, Reinhardt, Mercy, Torbjorn, that sort of deal. So you just switch sides and take turns. And you could definitely do that in an Overwatch in a competitive PvP/PvE game mode. I think that would definitely work. I'm hoping that that is something that they include with the Overwatch 2 expansion or whatever it is that they're adding. And that would definitely work. It would be very similar to the Left 4 Dead system, and I think it would be great. Next up, do you think that a support that can make the whole team invisible will work? Sure, but it would have to be a special kind of invisibility. I don't think it could be something like what Sombra has, where when you just get hit, then you get revealed and you get pulled out of stealth. That wouldn't work. Also, your team would have to be able to attack. So basically, it would be kind of like almost like a super invisibility, I guess. So you could make it so that it was confined to a small area, or so that people had to be in line of sight of the support that's using it or something like that. It's not just like automatically everybody on your team is invisible no matter where they are on the map. That might be a little too strong. But you could have it so that anyone who is kind of close to the support within 5 meters or 10 meters or something like that, they gain a kind of super invisibility. They can still attack, and they can't be revealed by damage or anything like that. No, they could be revealed by like a Widowmaker or a Hanzo or something. That would work, sure. But they would have a lot of that same functionality, you just wouldn't be able to see them. Maybe have it last for 5 or 6 seconds. Sure, I think that would be a pretty decent support ult, and it would be a cool way to kind of change up how the game is played. Now, it wouldn't be a traditional support ult in like the kind of sound barrier type sense. It would be more like what Baptiste offers, right? Like, he offers something that is different from just, hey, I'm gonna give all of my team a huge amount of health. And I think that would be good for the game. Add more variety, add more synergy. Next up, what do you love about Overwatch and why are you still playing the game? Interesting question, because a lot of people ask me, like, why do you still play this game if you don't like it and all that sort of stuff? But the thing is, I actually do like the game. I like playing it. There's just certain things that really frustrate me, right? Like the problem with the throwers and the levers and that sort of stuff, the hero balance just being a complete mess, and Blizzard not really doing what they need to do in certain things, and it's just really, really frustrating. But I actually do like the game. I like the variety of the characters. I like just playing FPS games in general. I like kind of the hero-based stuff because I used to play a lot of Dota and all that. And I like the type of game. It's just, I feel that in order to improve the game, I have to point out the stuff that's broken, right? Like, I can't just say, hey, the game is awesome all the time, because then the things that need to be fixed don't get fixed, right? Like, you have to point out and say, look, Blizzard, this is not working. You need to fix this. This doesn't work for whatever reason, blah, 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 blah. Because if it's ever going to improve, you can't just focus on the good stuff. Maybe, to be honest, I do focus a little bit too much on the bad stuff, and that's something that I probably need to look at and try to change. But I do actually like the game, and I do like to play it. Next up, could a tank with Lifesteal work? I think sort of yes, sort of no. It depends. If we're talking Lifesteal like Reaper kind of Lifesteal, then I don't really know. I don't think so. I think that would be too strong, and you would end up with a character that just never ever gets taken out, right? Like, you could just run in. So imagine Reaper with Roadhog's health, right? That would be bad. That would be really bad. However, you could have a tank that does have a small amount of lifesteal on an ability. So you get to use it once every 8 seconds or something like that, and it steals like 100 health or 120, whatever it happens to be, right? You could do that. Absolutely, that would work. But like a constant for every attack, I don't think that would be good at all. Now, if you're interested, I actually did make a hero concept that uses lifesteal on an ability. It's one of my favorite hero concepts that I've ever made. His name is Brute. He's a Talon tank. That character is super awesome. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link down below. But that is going to be all of the questions for this week. Now, there is another thing that I wanted to run by you guys. Remember I mentioned I wanted to kind of change the way that I handle the Respawn series? Well, I've been thinking about making it a live series. Like, I could have, maybe not every single week, but every once in a while, I could do an actual live stream here on YouTube where I take your questions live and answer them there. And I could also take some questions from the comment card thing as well. But what do you guys think about that? Would you be interested in seeing a live version of the Respawn every once in a while and having your questions answered, like, as, you know, right away, as opposed to just leaving them and having a couple of them get picked? Now, the thing is if I do a live version, then I can actually probably answer a lot more questions than I would normally do, because right now I just kind of limit it to like 10 or 12 questions or something. But if I'm doing a live stream, there's a whole bunch of questions where you guys could ask, and I could just say, you know, short, very simple answers as opposed to a little more kind of lengthy stuff. So if that's something that you would be interested in seeing, let me know down below. And also, before you go, don't forget to check out today's video sponsor, which is Moot, that free gaming platform. It allows you to check out and share lots of info, memes, highlights, guides, all sorts of stuff for Overwatch and a whole bunch of other games with that awesome new looking for group function. So if you want to check that out, it's available for iOS, Android, and PC. You can check out the link down in the description of the video. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.